What has Biden done, or what are his views that you think are good or that are worth giving a second term to?
I think he's done a lot of good. I think that, I mean, I could name several things. I think the CHIPS Act, which brought manufacturing of computer chips back to the United States, I think that's great for manufacturing here, but also great for, I think, our national security. The PACT Act with the burn pit thing, which he signed into law. The cap on senior prescription drug costs at $2,000. I think that's great. I think there's a lot of old people in the United States who aren't even buying drugs that they need because of the expenses. And I love the fact that he signed that into law.
A lot of these things, I think, before the show we were talking about how we had Destiny on. What's his name? Steve
Benelli.
Benelli?
Yeah,
is it
Stephen
Benelli?
Benelli.
I thought it was Bonnell. Isn't it Bonnell?
Bonnell? I thought there was an I.
I don't know.
Let me
Maybe there's an
check.
I. But, I was saying, like, obviously, on a lot of core issues like healthcare, rights of the workers, bringing jobs back, bringing chip manufacturing, like that's a good one, by the way.
Oh, it's Stephen Bonnell II, so I thought that was an I. Sorry, Steve.
There you go. Wait, there's an I in there. But one of the issues I take, the most important thing, foreign policy. For me, I often go off on foreign policy. Like we had Alad Eliyahu, he's a reporter for us. And then we got into a yelling match because he called himself jokingly the resident neocon. Because he was saying, like, we should be at war in these countries. We should be stopping communism. It should be a unipolar world where the U.S. is in control. And my attitude is kind of like, okay, I get that. I understand why you'd argue that. But I'm pretty much against U.S. intervention in all these countries, effectively invading countries to remove their government and their cultures and impose our own will and stuff like that. So when it comes to Joe Biden, I've seen what Joe Biden did in when he was vice president. And it was... I think corruption is an understatement, right? As soon as he gets put in charge of the war in Iraq, his brother gets lucrative contracts. We see the expansion of the wars in the Middle East under the Obama administration. We see the drone killings of children, which, okay, fine, that's on Barack Obama, like the killing of Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki, but also other American citizens like Anwar al-Awlaki. Under Donald Trump, we certainly had some bad things. There was a commando raid in Yemen, which the people there claim killed an 8-year-old American girl. It's a bad claim. It's not the same thing as what we know, that Obama did kill Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki. But then Trump tries negotiating peace with North Korea, actually walking through the DMZ into North Korea with no security detail. He gets us the Abraham Accords. He gets, pulling our troops out of Syria, at least as much as he could, without the U.S. military actually lying to him and us about how many troops we had there, setting a timeline for Afghanistan withdrawal. So those things, for me, are extremely important. And I can certainly understand, you mentioned those domestic policies, but I'm curious your thoughts on that regard. I mean, when it comes to war, Joe Biden is, in my opinion, indefensible.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up some good points about international policy. And I tend to focus more on national stuff that's happening in our country. I'm pretty much against war, too. So, I mean, it's hard to argue with some of that stuff.